Hello, everyone. We have 2 more weeks, excuse me, officially until Christmas. I'm pretty sure, even though I do not have my calendar in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that's right. And I'm recording this on a Wednesday night, so that will be 2 weeks exactly from today, because I'm not recording on a Thursday like I usually do. And I am all decked out, got my ears. This shirt, you can't read it from far away, but it says, "My favorite colors are Christmas lights," and then there's a Christmas lights around it. I wear this every time I go see Christmas lights, and I don't know if I will wear it this year because I do have another Christmas sweater I kind of want to wear, but I figured since this had Christmas lights on it, um, I would just go with it. And of course, as always, obligatory self promotion. My book is always linked in the description, always linked in the link tree. What If I Ruled the World? Poems inspired by music, the bank. And I'm going to try to make it my goal to actually outline my next book before the beginning of next year. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, today we're talking about this book, The Winter Date by Ty Love. There it is. My shirt is cheap from Walmart, so it is thin. So I did not think that my mic would be stable on it. So I'm going to be holding it. All right, so we're going to talk about the book now. As you can see, I have a lot of things that I guess it's like technically dog earring, but I just use these instead. And the colors don't matter because they don't mean different things. So I just ran out of one color because I use them like so much. Anywho, let's get into it. So the genre is romance. The author is Ty Love. So this excerpt is the author. It's like what she wants you to know about her. So usually this is the author biography part of my notes. This is from Goodreads.com. She made her own like blurb for herself. So I'm gonna read it. I want my readers to escape their realities and embark on a journey of self-exploration and love when they delve into my books. I have loved reading fiction, thrillers, and romance for years. Although my original and still writing interest was YA, which I'm assuming means young adult, and self-help books, I received a surprise text one Valentine's Day and wrote the very first chapter of a romance novel that day. And I became forever inspired to write contemporary and new adult romance with a twist. So that's her. I thought it'd be cool to like have her own paragraph instead of like a paragraph written about her, even though I know you can like write your own paragraph about yourself in like second person or third person, which I actually did on the back of my own book. So, well, no. Well, part of it is me writing in first person, and the other part is like third person. So, but I did write it all myself. So, I have experience with that. But yeah. Um. Oh. Okay. Here's the release date. Okay. Lost myself in my notes. So it was released December 16th, 2019. So just right before Christmas. So it's in theme. So I'm going to read the synopsis, even though I guess I could just read the back of the book. But either way, here we go. Winter Locke, still reeling from a broken engagement from her high school sweetheart, is dreading the holidays for the first time in years. An emotional setback seems likely given that she also has an upcoming class reunion in which her ex fiance is highly probable. While lamenting her blues to her best friend, he tells her she should go out and finally put the past behind her. Winter begins to have hope for love again and wonders if he's the reason why. Chad Turner, never big on commitment, is tired of witnessing Winter waste tears on a man He'd always hated. He's also a firm believer that the best way to get over someone is to get under someone new. Before she sees her ex again, Chad proposes to take Winter on a date to remind her that there's love after heartbreak. What she doesn't know is his determination to prove that he's the only one for her. So yeah, that's the synopsis. I'm only going to talk about two of the characters. Winterlock is the main character, and then her best friend is Chad Turner. There are other characters, but that's all you're gonna get, y'all. Okay, so I'm gonna get into my pros and my cons and my overall opinion. So my first pro is the story. I really enjoyed the story for the most part, even if parts of it and even parts of it surprised me, like where it was going. Like I didn't expect some of the stuff, which usually for like this type of romance novel or like romance movie type kind of home. Well, there is some sexual scenes, so it's not all the way hallmarky, but it does have some typical conventions of like the romance novel and like this type of romance. But some of it did surprise me, so I was like, oh, okay. I think it was a fun and easy to follow along to. Yeah, it was easy and trying to figure out what I was trying to say. It was fun and easy to follow along to. I don't know why that sounded weird the first time I said it, but anyway, I felt like for the most part it was pretty straightforward. So I really liked the story. Um, and like I said, there were some things that happened that I did not expect to happen. One of them I'm going to talk about in my cons, because it did frustrate me. Like, you know how they have to have like a bad thing happen and the characters have to fight, before they find out that they're really the ones for each other. It's like that. But I'm going to talk about that later. But yeah. And then my second pro is the characters. I love that all the sisters were named after seasons. So Winter is the main character. And then she has an older sister named Summer and Spring. And then the youngest sister is named Autumn. I will be honest, this is like just like a random tangent, but when she was going between Summer and Spring because they're the older ones, I was getting a little confused because I was like, you talking to both of them at the same time and they both have S names. Which is weird for me because I always have characters that have the same like letter names, and people always talk about how like sometimes they get confused, and I'm like, how do you get confused? Well, now I know. Now I know how you can get confused, especially because like sometimes my characters are like one's older and one's younger, and I'm like, how are you getting confused just because they have the same letter name? And now I understand what people are talking about. So there you go. I really thought that was cute though. If they were all named after seasons, I love that idea. I think all the sisters meshed well together and complemented each other. I really like that Winter, even though sometimes I wanted. I really liked Winter, even though sometimes I wanted to go into the book, and oh, I got to tell you, I wanted to go in the book and choke her, lol, because there were some things that she was doing. I was like, girl, what are you doing? But I did like her character. I did. Chad was a fun character. Excuse me. Honestly, he is definitely the player type, but of course, this is a romance novel, so he's going to change unrealistically at that for Winter. LOL. He does seem very motivated career wise and relationship wise, so that's good. So, he seems like, he definitely goes after what he wants, in the career field and in the romance field. So, yes, that was good. And the setting is the next pro. I love that it was take place in a place that was realistic. It took place in Houston and San Diego. I do wish there were like more notable places that were mentioned though. But overall, I felt like it was made the story more grounded to have it in a real place. Like, I wish they were like, I don't know, at some. But I feel like the last scene they were at a famous location. Let me see. It's hard to juggle this with a mic in your hand. Let me see. 'Cause I feel like it was like at a famous place, like where they were. I don't even know if I made note of this, so who knows? Yeah, let me see. Okay. So maybe I did not make note of it because I felt like. Anyway, I guess I didn't make note of it, so I guess it wasn't that important. But anyway, I do wish they had more like famous places that like they could have went to and like mentioned. But that would have been cool. And then my last pro is the smut sections. If you don't know what smut is, it's sexual writing. Um, and I'm gonna be honest, I felt like I kind of wanted more smut, but I will say I was satisfied with what I got. And I felt like we got teased like a couple times, a couple times that it could have happened. But I will say the payoff was worth it, and I liked it. Of course, I don't think I can read anything, but I was satisfied with it. One thing I want to talk about that I talked to my friend about because she reads a lot of like smut. All the men are always well endowed. That's what I'll say. And I always wonder, like, what if he came and he had a little shrimp? Like that would shake things up, you know. But of course, they're always going to be big down there. So I feel like the story will. I don't know if the story will be that like juicy if they weren't. You know what I mean? But yeah, so those are my pros. So let's get to the cons. Number one is there were typos in this book, and this one is pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, if you're gonna post your book, make sure they're not typos. And I will say most of the typos were in the beginning of the book, and they were like really obvious ones too. And there was a female character. She wasn't the main character, but they said her name was one name on like one page, and then I turned the page, and then they said her name was a different name, and that should not be happening. You should, if you have a placeholder name, you should make sure that you changed it in every single place that you wrote it. So that's just one example. But yeah, there were some other examples that were like really obvious, and I was like, nobody proofread the beginning again. They just proofread the rest of the book more, which I don't know. I never been published by like a major publisher, so it was just me and my friends. But I did go through my book like several times. So, but yeah, especially if I can get this on multiple different websites, Goodreads, Amazon, all those kind of places, definitely should have zero negative typos. Okay, so this is one of the things that like frustrated me. It's gonna be a tiny bit spoilery, but not too much. It's gonna be a little vague. But anyway. Okay, so the next pro is like their big fight before actually like officially getting together. Um it frustrated me as a reader and a person who's willing to leave anyone at any negative thing that they do, lol. So like if me and you are together and you do something that I don't like one thing, I'm ready to go already. So this frustrated me that she just um yeah, that she just kept trying to give Jared like a chance. It was so frustrating. Of course I'm not gonna spoil it, but Jared was the one that left her with no explanation and he didn't fess up to the reason. And yet she got mad at Chad for something that Jared should have done, definitely told her, and not be a bitch about it. He should have been honest and been like, you know what? I did XYZ, and that's why I'm breaking up with you 2 months before our wedding. I think I said 2 days before their wedding in my short video, but it's really 2 months. Still short amount of time, but definitely a big time difference, but still. That made me mad because I'm like, girl, what are you doing? Because it's like even if Chad didn't tell you like that one thing, which I'm not gonna spoil, would it have made a difference? But she's kind of like, oh well, what if you told me? What if we worked it out? What if me and Jared worked it out? This is kind of a bit spoiler now that I've said that. But anyway, it's like, girl, get over this man. This man left you 2 months before your wedding, and you're like, well, what if? Which I get it. I mean, they were together for 10 years, so like I said in my short video, I never been in love, so I don't know, y'all. Also, like, you don't always need closure for every relationship. I hate that. Like, why do you need closure? I'm gonna be honest. When I was younger, I was that girl. I was like, I need closure. I need to figure out what happened. I need to do. You don't always need that. You know what I mean? Like, why even hear out a person who still doesn't want to take accountability? Like, he still didn't want to take accountability, even after the fact. Like, and of course, I'm trying not to spoil anything, but Jared was an asshole. Of course, mind you, canceling the wedding 2 months before without any explanation and breaking up with you is definitely an asshole move in and of itself. But there was stuff that he did in the book that, like, there were extra asshole or assholey on top of that already. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna give a huge spoiler alert because it's actually like a plot point about one of the sisters, and the family did not react to this the way that I thought was appropriate. So that's why it's in my cons. But it's Autumn's boyfriend. I think his name is Quincy. Autumn's boyfriend Quincy, having a secret child, which they acted so casually, and it was weird to me. LOL. Uh, I feel like having a secret child is definitely a big deal to most people, and they were like, when they found out, like, I think one of the, not gonna remember which sister it was. I think Spring told Winter, like, "Oh yeah, he just has a secret child," and then I can't remember if it was Winter who was like, "Oh, that's it," or something, and I'm like, "That's it? That's a big deal," and they were like acting like it wasn't. Um, and yeah, and being a step parent is a big deal for most people. Like, that's something you have to, like, be prepared for and, like, really have your mind right for, because there are a lot of crazy people who don't treat, like, their stepchildren right, or children that are not theirs correctly, and that's a big commitment to actually be a good step parent. And then another thing that kind of annoyed me, which I'm not saying Autumn would have never gotten along with his daughter, but she just, like, immediately is like, they're just great together. They're perfect together. And I'm like, there was like I felt like there was like no, now there is a book with Autumn, so maybe, but then the story where it starts off is not like, trying I'm trying not to spoil too much about Autumn and her boyfriend, but basically, there have no. It seems like there's no period where she like met up with the daughter or anything before they meet up in the book. So it's just like, it seems like their first meeting, they get along great. Not saying that's impossible, but it just seems really, like, far fetched. Yeah, and it's not always going to be the case that you're going to be 100%, compatible with someone and their child, like, immediately. So that was very unrealistic. And the ending, no spoilers, but I did want to tell my girl Winter to stand up. LOL. Uh, and then she revealed something big to Chad to get him back, which is crazy that she had to do that to get him back. And he had her. He was making her do too much for my liking. Like, she was really begging. I was like, girl, please stand up. And like I said in my short video, like, how do you really know this man is really the one? You've had one whole man your whole life. You're like, this next one is definitely the one. Like, how do you know? And here you are begging, which of course I'm not going to spoil everything, but I was like, girl, please stand up. But yeah, those are my pros and my cons. And I'm going to give you my favorite chapter and my least favorite chapter before I give my overall opinion. My favorite chapter was chapter 10, when they finally made love. Yes, I love smut, LOL. So that was good for me. And my least favorite chapter was chapter 8, because I was like, why is she mad at Chad? Because Jared decided not to be honest with her in the first place and decided to break up with her instead and break off their engagement. So that pissed me off. So that was like when they had the big fight. So that was my least favorite chapter. All right. So my overall opinion, I enjoyed this book overall. I will say I feel very invested in the sisters and their stories. So I would definitely read the other books in this series. So the series overall is called A Love for All Seasons, and so Autumn has like a, it's like a play on autumn in the title. Like this is the winter date for winter, and then autumn has her name in her title, and then spring has her own book, and then summer has her own book, and then when I was looking at the books, they have books where they're all together. So I'm definitely keep reading the series. This is like the second book. But I wanted to read something Christmassy. That's why I started with this one. And then I'll go back and read Autumn and then just keep going because this is the second and then just keep going from there. But yeah, I would definitely read the other books. I'm also interested to see how Winter and Chad's relationship progresses because he revealed something big at the end. And I feel like I was definitely rooting for them to work out. So I think the writer definitely did a good job in getting us to care about them as a couple. I will say the ending kind of brought the book down for me. Um, cause Chad had my girl Winter doing too much. Okay. Um, and then her not just ignoring her ex fiance Jared annoyed me so much. Like, girl, what is going on? She needed to stand up for to both of them, honestly, at some point. But of course, ultimately, she made the right choice in the end. She got with Chad. I don't know if that's a spoiler because I feel like it's kind of predictable. But anyway, but of course, they have the ups and downs, and they finally have to get to where they're finally together. You know, I will give this book a 7 out of 10, and I will be reading the other books in the future, like I said earlier. So yeah, I definitely highly recommend it. Besides, my negatives, I did enjoy it for the most part. I wish the ending was like a little bit more heartwarming and not her like being beggy, like begging. So that is the winter date. And so they have a date in the book. I don't know if it's a spoiler. With her and Chad. They have like this Christmas themed date, date. So it's like a date all day. And I was like, what would my perfect Christmas date would be? Because it's not on Christmas. It's like sometime in December. But it's not on Christmas. But he does spend Christmas with her and her family. Um, but they have the date before Christmas. So that's when my date would be, like weeks before Christmas. So I decided to write what my perfect Christmas date would be. So first of all, they did have a big breakfast in the book. I was going to say the movie, in the book as well. So I would do that too. Have a big breakfast we make together to start off our day, and we would put on matching Christmas sweaters to go out, and then we would go look for Christmas ornaments and decorations. I feel like that would be cute for us to match. We would go out to a nice lunch and like a matinee Christmas play or ballet, or we could do it like right before dinner. And then we come back home to make dinner together. Either a traditional Christmas dinner with like ham, mashed potato, yams, whatever, or something different, like we can have Italian themed or something like that. Then we would bake Christmas cookies. Always got to bake Christmas cookies. And then we put our decorations or ornaments. We will put up the decorations or ornaments we got together, unless we window shopped, because sometimes window shopping is fun. Um, then we could also make hot chocolate. Yeah. Before the cookies come out, and once they do, we can have them and the hot chocolate while watching a Christmas movie. And then we could have each other as a treat to end the night. So, end the night on a happy ending. That would be my perfect Christmas date. What would your perfect Christmas date be? Let me know in the comments. Would you read this book? What is your favorite Christmas book that you've ever read? Would you consider reading this one? Please always like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you all watching my videos. And I appreciate you all, when you like, comment, and do all those things. So, yeah, I will see you all next week.